today's show,
we discuss Nurk's season-ending injury and whether the Blazers are done for.
David Griffin joins the show to talk Kyrie's future, Lakers head coaching rumors, and Harden's MVP chances.
And the Orlando Magic are making a playoff run, but is it a little too late?
It's Tuesday, March 26th. The starter starts now!
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to The Starters, presented by Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 and Tennessee Honey. I'm J.E. Skeets, alongside me as always, Tass Mellis. We've got the Aussie Lee Ellis, and over yonder, that's the bearded one, that's Trey Kirby.
Hey yo!
Trey, what's up tonight?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at hashtag The Starters, and guys, Jake Layman pulled a Dirk Nowitzki last night, showing up to the Portland game with a container full of leftovers. The only difference, you can kind of see what Jake is carrying. It looks like spaghetti, though early reports suggested this was mashed potatoes and gravy. That being said, I think that is a red sauce. And it brings us to today's question: what is the best pregame meal? For instance, who can forget the time Rajon Rondo was caught on camera eating sushi and drinking Gatorade before a game? Both sushi and Gatorade, I think, are nice pregame meal choices. I don't know how well they complement each other, though. Nothing like washing down a California roll with some lemon lime Gatorade, but we want to hear from you. So let us know on Twitter, what is the best pregame meal? Send us your choices to hashtag The Starters. We'll hear from you later.
All right, get those tweets in. On tonight's show, former NBA executive David Griffin is back in studio to talk some hoops. We'll discuss the Orlando Magic's sort of recent run here and their playoff chances. We got a very solid play. But let's start tonight with a little true or false. TK, take it away.
Sad stuff out in Portland late last night, where Blazers big man Jusuf Nurkic suffered a horrific broken leg in double overtime. The compound fractures to Nurkic's left tibia and fibula are season-ending, and it couldn't have come at a worse time, as we're just a few weeks from the postseason. Guys, true or false? Losing Nurkic kills the Blazers' playoff hopes.
Especially when he was having a career year. This team doesn't get much beyond their big three of Lillard, McCollum, and Jusuf Nurkic. So it'd be crazy to bet on this team that's lost 10 straight playoff games. They're going to have to get a lot from either Enes Kanter or probably both Zach Collins, a second-year player at center. But you compound that injury with C.J. McCollum's injury. He's still out. And the way Damian Lillard looked after the game, I know he feels for his guys. And he wears his heart on his sleeve and loves his guys. But I think he knows even more so, beyond Jusuf Nurkic, that C.J. McCollum's status isn't necessarily that certain. Right. You know, who the heck knows when he's coming back? So I think this doesn't bode well. I think it's a first-round exit for this team.
Yeah, because they're going to drop in the standings likely as well and not have home court advantage. That's what they're really hoping for, and it's just so tough. But if any team lost their second and third best player for any amount of time at this stage of the season or into the playoffs, it would be very, very tough for them. And with Enes Kanter coming in there, we know he can play offense, but they just get killed defensively, and that's going to be the real question for Terry Stotts is, does he risk having Enes Kanter out there to play offense to give Lillard a little bit of help, but then what does he give up at the defensive end? That's the statistics aren't very good defensively for when Enes Kanter's out there. But you know what? Sometimes in these situations, guys, it galvanizes a team. They step up and they play better and they show a little bit more tenacity. So that's what I guess they're hoping for. But just a real tough blow for the Blazers to deal with coming this close to what has been overall a very good season for them.
Yeah, and Nurkic is not only going to miss this regular season and the playoffs, he could miss all of next season. I mean, this is how gruesome the injury was. I know he's going to get surgery here today, and we're sending him our best because that was, you know, we weren't even showing you because it's one of those, you don't need to see it. No. He broke his leg, you move on from it, and you hope he can recover. And he's young enough that he will. He'll be back in the NBA. But yeah, I'm sort of with you because already heading into the playoffs, I think you would look at the Blazers in any sort of matchup, even if they had home court advantage, where you'd be like, you could talk yourself into a tough series with whoever they'd be playing. Be it the Jazz or the Thunder or the Spurs, and you would be like a bit of a coin flip, like, yeah, maybe the Blazers are playing well and they got their guys, okay, I could go with them, or you go with the other team. Now, with no Nurkic, who's a two-way player, that's the other thing. He doesn't just give you a little defense and a little offense, he gives you both. That's what you like, 15 and 10 and some mobility as a big defensive guy. It's like, how do you replace it? You're asking a young guy in Zach Collins to give you tons, you're asking a guy in Kanter who just doesn't give you much defense. Maybe they sort of dust off Leonard here. It sucks. I feel bad for Blazers fans because this is the best this sort of iteration of this team had looked up until the two injuries to McCollum and now Nurkic.
Yeah, what happened last year was beyond those big three, they didn't get a lot. And when they doubled Damian Lillard, the New Orleans Pelicans did in the first round, Blazers just couldn't solve it, even with Nurkic and McCollum on the floor. It was a huge issue. So you take Nurkic out of that. Do you want offense? Do you want an Enes Kanter in that position to help out? I don't think so. I would be really worried on the other end. I would say start Zach Collins, hope Enes Kanter comes off the bench and doesn't get burned as much as he would by first-tier guys or first-unit guys. That would be my guess, but you just need to hope not just that you get something out of Collins and Enes Kanter, but that Mo Harkless steps up. And these guys start making plays.
Curry hits a bunch
Evan
of
Turner.
threes,
These guys got to make plays when inevitably, whoever they're matched up with, they're going to get the ball out of Dame's hands. That's definitely the template, how you beat this team.
Because this is like the Thunder if they lost Steven Adams, or the Rockets lose a Capella, or even like the Celtics lose an Al Horford. That's how important, I think, is what I'm getting at here, that Nurkic is to the playoffs, to the Blazers.
Gives them that toughness.
Success. That's the other part.
That's the other thing. That's not a stat, but how are they going to replace that? The guy who sets those screens, who gets under the other guy's skin a little bit, he throws his body around, because that's what Lillard's talked about a lot this season, that he gives them that identity that teams know. If you run into a screen from Nurkic, you're going to feel it. So that's just as tough to replace as the points and the defense.
Yeah, again, sending our best to Nurkic, and our thoughts to the Blazers fans. So that was a tough morning here after, if you didn't watch the late game there last night, waking up to. All right, Trey, our next one.
All right, the Suns' Devin Booker scored his 59th point against the Jazz with a minute and a half left in last night's blowout loss, and that's when the fouls started. The Suns fouled to get the ball back, then the Jazz fouled after a missed free throw to prevent Booker from getting an even 60 points, guys. True or false? The Jazz fouling late was petty.
It's true, but we need to write the unwritten rules of basketball, because
here we go again.
Because really, Booker was out there, and the Suns put him out there for a personal milestone. Get 60 points, it looks good in the box score.
Sure.
But the game was over. So
the game was over long before that.
Exactly, so the star players shouldn't be out there. So the Jazz, I think, they met the Suns down low and said, all right, well, if you're going to try to do that, then we're going to try to deny Devin Booker the chance to get that shiny 60 points in the box score, because, hey, 60 is one more than 59. That makes a huge difference.
Booker came into the game, 3 minutes left, down 31 points, and 4 points shy of 60 points. There was nothing left to play in this game. The Utah Jazz said, oh, this is a fun little game. Why don't we foul? I'm okay with it. Yeah, usually when you go low, we go high, but in this instance, I'm fine with them matching. Just match that low. I'm okay with it.
You're right. It's like an eye for an eye, an intentional foul for an intentional foul, because that's what the Suns had done here. Like with the round 30 seconds left, they had to foul twice to, put somebody on the line to try and get the ball back, and then the Jazz said, well, we'll just intentional foul, and it won't be you, Booker. You're not going to the line. Here's the other thing. If anyone should be upset, like if Booker, let's say he is upset, and he was smirking, by the way, at the Jazz bench, like well played sort of thing. But if he wants to be upset with anyone, he should be upset with his teammate, Jimmer Fredette. His new teammate, Jimmer Fredette. Here's the crazy part. Okay, when Booker did check back in and was gunning for the 60, Jimmer just kept shooting. I mean, he was trying to get his points because the sort of the home crowd, I throw in quotations, he went to BYU, they're cheering Jimmer on. He missed a floater, then he finally hit a shot, took a crazy another deep three, hit some free throws in there. He was taking away like possible chances for Booker here. So if he's going to be mad with Jimmer.
Shoot your shot, man. Shoot your shot. If you're open, just fire away.
There's lots of people for Devin Booker to be mad at in the Suns organization this season. 59 of 92 points he scored last night. There's lots of people to be angry at. We've got David Griffin coming on. David Griffin should be up there making the calls in the front office.
Whoa,
I got a scoop for us there.
Maybe we got a scoop later. All right, what's our final one here, TK?
All right, Chris Bosh will have his #1 retired by the Miami Heat tonight. He won a couple of titles, was an all-star all 6 seasons he played in Miami, so that's a pretty easy choice. We all agree that Bosh is a Hall of Famer, but he's also a video bomb legend, making a name for himself during the great video bomb craze of the early 2010s with moves such as the robot and the pop-up. Guys, true or false? Chris Bosh is the NBA's all-time best video bomber.
That's true. That is true, because I actually legit thought Chris Bosh invented the video bomb. I knew we had the photo bomb, like I knew that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I really felt like Chris Bosh was at the forefront of doing it in video form. And I like that he did it in the foreground sometimes. He would do it in the background. He really switched it up with what he was doing. Yeah, and he brought it to the general public. So yes, I think he's the greatest.
Well, what a breakdown. What a
the
breakdown.
fact that he's the Shooting Stars champion, he's got quite a few assets to his name, really, doesn't he?
It helps his Hall of Fame credentials.
Exactly. What a legend. Who can
So you agree?
Oh, it definitely is, yeah. I mean, that karate chop one we didn't see. Remember he did that as well with the towel? I mean, he's got so many in his catalogue. But, he's actually, this is the thing, like a lot of people like to sort of say Chris Bosh was the third wheel there in Miami. He was so important to that team, but he's also such a fun guy that he created a little bit, eased a bit of the tension at times as well.
He's a pioneer.
Yep. We agree. All right. Let's hear from you guys on Twitter. Do you think Chris Bosh is the greatest video bomber of all time? When we come back, though, former champion David Griffin is back.
He's like Chris Bosh, brings the toughness and the abilities.
I thought he was angry with you for a second.
The Starters is presented by Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 and Tennessee Honey.
Guest season has officially started, and it's not even April. Can you believe it? We are happy to welcome back former NBA GM, current NBA TV analyst, David Griffin. David, thanks for joining us.
Thanks to be here, guys. Very happy.
You join a very rare, illustrious list of 3-time Starters guest.
I'm pretty fired up. I was worried that I did something wrong after number 2 because it's been a while.
That's true. We would have you on every week, but you're a busy guy. You're a busy guy. Well, look, we have a lot of questions we want to ask you about the NBA. We thought a fun way to do this is a new game called At Odds with David Griffin. All right? So we're going to give you a statement about the NBA.
We thought you'd like that.
Wow.
Got your own graphic. It's big time.
Handsome photo.
We'll get you that graphic.
Goodness sakes.
We're going to give you a statement about the NBA, and you're going to tell us how confident you are that it will happen. On a, using a percentage, 0 to 100, something like that.
How confident I am that it will happen.
Yeah, so our
All
first
right.
one. What are the odds that the Lakers will have a new coach next season, in your opinion, of course?
27%.
Ooh.
So not crazy high.
I think it would be the complete opposite, right? It would be 72% if Jeannie Buss had not been the one who came out and said, this is our coach.
Yep.
It means a great deal when your owner was part of hiring someone and wants them to stay. So while I appreciate the notion of why it's a lock that he's gone, I think when you look at the totality of the work he's done and what's happened in terms of the injuries and everything else, probably makes sense that he stays.
What do you think about the etiquette situation that there's former players, former coaches have been approached just indirectly about the job there, just about the conversation. Hey,
or they want you
Jason
to think they have been.
Oh, that's a
Right.
very fair point. And they say, well, that's a position that I would love to take. Well, you hear like a Jeff Van Gundy who says, there's a guy in that position right now. You cannot speak about that. What's the etiquette sort of in the NBA circles surrounding that?
Yeah, I think the vast majority of the guys, anybody who's been a head coach before certainly would be somebody who would say, I won't discuss that while you have a coach in place.
Yeah.
And I think by and large, that's people's attitudes. I certainly think anyone who's been talked about so far, that's certainly been their attitude and what they've said publicly.
Okay, well, you mentioned recently that Kyrie Irving, your former player, in terms of the Nets and Knicks situation, that the Nets environment, the basketball situation there is a better environment than the actual New York Knicks environment. I totally agree, just especially considering all the comments he's made about the media this season. So, what are the odds that Kyrie will be a New York Knick next season? Because a vast amount of people think that he's going there over the Brooklyn situation.
33.3%.
I love how specific you are.
1 over 3. Nice.
So would you
You're a
pick
numbers guy.
So if is he leaving? We don't need to get odds on this, but would you believe he's leaving Boston for one of those situations at this point?
Well, I think 33.3 gives me there's 3 places
Nice.
he goes. So I'll stick with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What have you made of the situation with Kyrie this
Well,
year
I
and
think
the Celtics in general?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that he came out and said what he said relative to LeBron, that he did have a moment where he recognized how difficult it is to do what LeBron was doing that whole time, that he had a deeper appreciation for how hard it is to carry a team and be the face of a franchise in that way. I think he's had a sort of epiphany in a way as he's gone through this process where he recognizes it's not always a positive thing to lead from the front. Sometimes when you're going to lead, you can do it quietly. And so I like the fact that there's been far less public statements of any real import and just talking about the game itself and the way we covered Kemba Walker by way of example. He came out and said something there, but it's not about how hard it is to lead and the young guys and all of those types of things.
All right, well, it's guest season here on the Starters, almost award season in the NBA as well. So what are the odds that Harden wins MVP?
Wow. Wins it, not should or should not win it, but wins it.
Wins it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think the odds are 54% he wins it.
You think it's sort of more likely that Harden actually wins this MVP
I do.
than, let's be honest here, a Giannis, who's
Yeah.
up there as the front runner?
I do. I think
Wow.
at the end of the day, people are going to be so moved and dumbfounded by the numbers and the fact that Houston's continued to win despite all the injuries. I think he'll end up winning. I think it's also easier to vote for someone you've voted for before.
Right. Interesting.
And I think you sort of end up saying, who am I less likely to get panned for picking? When you look at the numbers that James has put up, it's truly historic what he's done.
Yeah.
And we talked about it last night. I wish we had an Offensive Player of the Year like the NFL does, because it's just a no-brainer. It's James Harden. We move on, and the MVP can be a bigger conversation, because I think you end up in a circumstance where one of these two guys is going to not be selected for an award they both kind of richly deserve.
Right. Yeah.
If ever there was a time someone shared it, I wish it was this, because I truly, as a lifelong basketball fan, I'm just grateful that I've been actually able to be alive when James Harden's doing the kind of thing that Wilt Chamberlain used to do, and we go back on every record he's setting. The only guy that's ever done it is Wilt or Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. We're going to be able to say, well, the only people that ever do that are James Harden, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That is crazy to think about. This next one is also crazy to think about. LeBron James might not make an All-NBA team for the first time since his rookie season. There's a bunch of forwards like Giannis, Paul George, KD that probably get put up there before him. So that pushes him to the second team. Maybe Blake, Kawhi push him to the third team. So what are the odds that LeBron doesn't make an All-NBA team, period?
Period, meaning this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Phew. 60%.
Wow.
Whoa.
I
think it's possible here.
He missed a lot of games. And so I think people are going to look. Now, again, it will happen, not should happen, right?
Yes.
Right.
But I think people are going to look. The numbers are so incredible for those people that are very likely to make the team. Now, I will say this. I think people are going to have a hard time keeping him off at the end of the day. But when they're looking at it, if they're trying to come up with what the deciding factor is against LeBron, it'll be that they missed so many games and they didn't make the playoffs. And that's certainly not LeBron's fault, but I think that'll be used against him.
Griff, can't thank you enough, man, for coming on again.
Thanks so much,
We
guys.
won't waste another year, trust me. We're going to have you on next week.
I'm just glad that, I was here. The four short guys, taco, it's big.
That's just exactly right. Appreciate you, man. We got to take a break. When we come back, our taco is very tall. It's true. When we come back, Gobert dunks his way into the record books, and the Magic are making a late playoff push. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. We are into the up-down report. Let's see those thumbs. First one, do you believe in magic? I do. I love David Blaine. I also like the Orlando Magic right now. They shut down the 76ers in the second half last night with a commanding 21-point victory. The Magic are now a half game behind Miami in chasing that final playoff spot in the East. Orlando and Miami play tonight. Should be a good one. Guys, are you up or down on the Magic's late sort of here playoff chances? This late playoff push going 5-0 at home. Ooh, whoa, what's going on here?
Hate David Blaine. Can't stand. I'm more of a David Copperfield man myself. The schedule is honestly just too tough for the Orlando Magic. They've been great getting a 5-game winning streak, but starting tonight they have 4 road games against playoff teams in a week. The good thing is, against those 4 teams, they're 7-5 so far this season, so they'll have a chance at least in these 4 games. But on the season, Orlando 13-22 on the road. We'll know by next Tuesday, really, if the Magic are still going to be in the playoffs.
If their defense holds up, which it has been the second best in the league since the All-Star break, they're a chance. That's what it comes down to me, because they have had a great homestand. Not the toughest competition, but they pulled it out, and they're playing well. They're rolling right now, and it's all started on the defense, because this is what Steve Clifford was brought in to do, make this team a defensive identity. He's been able to do that a little later than they would have liked, but if they can just lock in for the remainder of this season, keep games close, and then maybe finish them off, I think they're a chance starting tonight in Miami. They got to get that one.
Right, that Miami game, and then even that Detroit game, another team they're chasing there, but you're down.
This is a back-to-back situation going into Miami. Miami's rested. They're waiting for it. Yeah, when it comes to playoff teams that are on the bubble, especially in the Eastern Conference, it comes down to the schedule a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Trey mentioned 4 next on the road. 6 of their last 8 are on the road. The Heat schedule is much more desirable, so I think it's just a numbers game at this point, it feels like.
All right, next one, guys. Rudy Gobert is your new dunk king. Thanks to an alley-oop from Donovan Mitchell last night, Gobert set the NBA single-season dunk record with his 270th dunk of the year. That mark breaks Dwight's old record of 269 set in the 07-08 season, a stat that they started recording around 2000. But are you guys up or down on Gobert's single-season dunk record? He's now at 275. He had a lot of dunks last night.
I'm just down with the dunk numbers in general. I don't believe them. We're stat geeks. I mean, we've covered the game for a long time. We're on Basketball Reference. We're on NBA.com. Who tracks this stat? Neither of those.
Yeah, it's John Schuman's the answer.
Well, John Schuman's not watching 1,230 games and telling me which song.
We've
yes,
got
I'm
the
100%.
technology tab.
No, there is no definitive site. It's
So you
not
doubt the stats.
it's not a universal site track. That just doesn't happen.
Does Derek Jones Jr. dunk from a few weeks ago, that thrunk, does that count
Does
as
a
a dunk?
thrunk
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. Does a layup?
Good
Is
on,
that a dunk?
good on Rudy Gobert, because he's always talked about for his defensive
Yeah.
efforts. He's having a career year offensively, and he's, you know, it's overrated. No, it's underrated how important it is to be able to throw the lob to a guy who can catch it and dunk it, and he does that really well.
Yeah.
So good
And
on him.
he's talked about that. I think after last night's game, he's like, yeah, they're throwing it to me more. They're throwing it higher.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You
Win-win.
see point guards just let go of the ball sometimes and expect their big man to go and get it. And he
Rudy,
does
go there.
Yeah,
Get it.
Yeah, that's cool though. I honestly, I know that Rudy Gobert has made shots that aren't dunks, but I really can't remember them. All I remember is the guy dunking, and like you're saying, Lee, he started out this season super angry. He was smashing bottles off of the scorer's table. Now he's setting records on offense. Let's go to the story for Rudy
No
Gobert.
one upset that probably Wilt Chamberlain actually owns
guaranteed
this
he
record.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
another part of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
he does.
Maybe
for
had
sure.
1,000 dunks in a season.
Yeah.
We just didn't keep track of it at the time. All right, let's hear from you guys. Thumbs up or thumbs down on Twitter, hashtag the starters. When we come back, we know we got some thumbs up with Lili's very solid play. Don't go anywhere. What time is it?
Crunch time!
Woo! Tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern on NBA TV. Way to workshop that, boys.
Yeah, I looked at it that time.
Good. All right, we asked you, what's the best pregame meal that you could think of? Is it sushi and Gatorade like Rondo once did? You hit us up on Twitter, hashtag the starters. Trey, you got some answers.
All starters themed answers. Bananas! It's
yeah.
what's for breakfast and for a pregame meal. No cramps, very big. Sam says, how about some poutine? Just crush some poutine before a game. Still better than eggnog, however.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Skeetsy about that one.
No, thanks. All right, tonight's pick'em game, obviously a big one for us here there. As you see our records at the bottom, I'm the only one taking the Sacramento Kings on the road. Everybody else taking the Mavs.
It's like the Eastern
home.
Conference, sub 500 record.
Yeah, we're not having a great month here. All right, Lili, very solid play.
Yeah, we're going out to Utah. It's a beautiful one here from Donovan Mitchell with the boomerang here for the Jazz. Mitchell's ball goes round and round, ends with not only a boomerang, but a
Swish ball.
That's what I call a very solid play.
Very solid.
Oh, hey.
Indeed. Okay.
Hey,
Wow.
cool guy.
Wow.
Very cool.
I'll put a spell on you.
All right, we recorded a new drop podcast. It's up and available to download. We obviously talked about Nurkic in great detail, got into the latest news about Kawhi and the possibility of him staying with the Raptors, so much more. We got some fan signs here, Lee.
This is Penny. This was sent in from Portland. Beautiful job there. It says this is a very solid TV show. That's right. This is G-Bone and family out in Cleveland.
Nice
Great
sign.
job, guys.
Thanks,
Very
G-Bone.
good. Yes, excellent. And
Oh,
he's
you've
back.
got
He's back.
G.
He's back off the injured list.
All right,
Not
thanks to
sick
David
anymore.
Griffin for joining us tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow
Love
at
that
6
hat,
p.m.
Chief.
Eastern. Embrace the night, people.